Hi everyone, it is Zero Witzer here, and today I'll be discussing Black Myth Wukong Chapter 1. It is based on Journey to the West, but explores what transpired after the group completed their journey. The chapter introduces many key elements found in the novel, such as the concepts of Buddhism, Daoism, Chinese mythology, Chinese folklore, and lessons on human nature and morality. It is exciting to explore the intricacies of the work they've put into it, and I cannot wait to share what I've discovered. Since this video will be broken down into different sections, please feel free to skip to any sections you like. To have a better understanding of Chapter 1, let's talk a bit about the theme of attachment. In Buddhism, attachment is seen as a source of suffering and hindrance to spiritual growth. There are many types of attachment, but let's focus on material possessions for this video. Each of us face our own tribulations, and we all have different ways of dealing with them. Many people seek comfort and status through their possessions. An example of this is to consider common daily items such as the cell phone. The original cell phones provided only basic messaging services, but now they boast capabilities similar to of a computer and can come at a similar price. Some people feel the need to purchase new devices or upgrade every year, even when there are no issues with your current phone. The new camera might take slightly better pictures, and the faster processors may load your favorite streamer's channel a few milliseconds faster. But at the end of the day, the phone still provides the same basic function as the last year's model. Why do we want new thing? And why can we not appreciate what we have? Some people may do this to flaunt their status. Others may feel pressured by others because of their own model or a different operating system. Regardless, a cycle of endless consumerism, always wanting the latest and greatest, illustrates attachment to material possessions. We seek them because we are inclined to desire. We might go to great lengths, even exhausting every resources and live beyond our means to satisfy our need to possess. Ultimately, it is our desire that prevents us from finding peace with what we already have. This theme illustrates Elder Jinchi's downfall, as well as Black Bear's fate. Let's dive into Elder Jinchi's story in Journey to the West. His story will help us develop a clearer perspective in the events that occurred in Black Myth Wukong.
白卷青，千般缘，色与空，弹指间，轮回路，有万次劫，求不退，闭上眼，一生功名忙如烟，浮沉落花断不绝。涅槃究竟寻常事，有情处不远。口中 念，心中言，现世报，却方便。修行路，无名尽，幡动时，莫等闲。一生功名情如烟，最后人物在少年。最是因祸情失眠，看真知，看见。
师父，徒弟还是想不明白，出家人尘缘已断，心海尽干，长老他为何偏偏放不下一件衣裳？
若不披上这件衣裳，众生又怎知我尘缘已断，心海尽干？
The animation is a concise summary of Chapter 1, highlighting how attachment to material possessions only begets suffering. Elder Jinchi's desire for the Kasaya led to his demise and caused countless innocent deaths. The once great Guanyin temple, formerly a monastery for monks, is now overrun by many yaoguais. Since the animation is a summary, there are important details that are left out. These details provide so much context and will help us better understand the events and characters in Black Myth Wukong Chapter 1. So, we must travel back in time to when Wukong and the Tang Mong began their journey. As night approached, Wukong and the Tang Mong needed lodging and came upon a monastery, later learning that it was a Guanyin temple. They were graciously welcomed by the monks and an evening with Elder Jinchi, who was astounded to hear that they had journeyed over 10,000 miles. In their conversation, they learned that Elder Jinchi is 270 years old and has never left the monastery. As they converse, 3 magnificent gold-edged colizone cups were served on a tray of milk white jade. The white copper teapot was poured, releasing a scent more fragrant than cassia flowers and a color more beautiful than the camellia buds. Elder Jinchi humbly rejected the Tang Mong's praise, asserting that Tang Mong must possess greater treasures acquired throughout their extensive travels. Tang Mong denied the existence of such treasures, mentioning that even if he had seen them, they could not have been brought along. He knowingly neglected to mention his kasaya, hoping to not instill desire. Wukong, however, knowing the significance of the kasaya, interjected and suggested presenting it to the monks, only to be met with laughter. An abbot mockingly explained that each monk in the monastery possessed 20 to 30 kasayas, and that Elder Jinchi, boasting over 270 years of age, possessed over 700. Elder Jinchi presented and displayed his many kasaya for Tang Mong and Wukong to see. Wukong, eager to show his master's kasaya, was met with a warning. Once he sees it, he will be tempted, and once he is tempted, he will plot and scheme. If you are timid, you may end up yielding to his every demand. Otherwise, injury and loss of life may result, and that is no small matter. Foregoing caution, Wukong revealed the Kasaya in all its glory. A crimson light flooded the room, outshining Elder Jinchi's 700 Kasayas. Bewildered and with tears in his eyes, Elder Jinchi requested to keep Kasaya for the night, promising to return it before they continued their journey west. Tang Mong agreed, and 2 beds were prepared for them to rest. In his room amongst his favorite disciples, Guangzhi and Guangmou, Elder Jinchi lamented his ill fortune. He spoke of his desire for the Kasaya to add to his collection, a scheme of ways to take the Kasaya. Eventually, they decided to kill Wukong and Tang Mong, taking the Kasaya for themselves. As to not draw suspicion upon themselves, they would start a fire to burn them while they slept. Noises of hurried footsteps and crackling firewood aroused Wukong's suspicion. He transformed into a bee to investigate, and witnessed monks stacking hay and firewood around their quarters. Realizing what his master had warned him about, Wukong decided to take matters into his own hands. Projecting himself to the South Heaven Gate, he found Virupaksa, the broad-eyed Devaraja. He borrowed Virupaksa's fire-repellent cover, intending to wrap and protect Tang Mong. Virupaksa was perplexed by Wukong's decision, wondering why he didn't ask for water to extinguish the fire. Wukong believed that using water would only benefit the enemies, adding that he didn't care about the rest and wanted them to burn. Wukong descended and covered Tang Mong, the white horse, and their luggage with the fire-repellent cover. As he watched the fire engulf their lodging, he made a magic sign and recited a wind spell. A strong wind arose, inciting the fire into a mighty blaze, quickly consuming the entire monastery and illuminating the sky red. Over at Black Wind Mountain, a black bear saw the monastery in flames and hurried over to help. Initially driven by good intentions, the bear was overcome with desire upon seeing the Kasaya. He took it and fled the monastery. Tang Mong awoke in the aftermath of the blaze to death and devastation, charred corpse and embers. Tang Mong was furious that Wukong stoked the flames and did not extinguish the fire. Wukong justified his actions by saying, "If a man has no desire to harm a tiger has no intention of hurting a man. If they hadn't played with fire, would I have played with wind?" Elder Jinchi, having survived the blaze, was begged by his disciple to return the Kasaya. However, Elder Jinchi could not comply, as the Kasaya had been secretly stolen by the black bear. Feeling entirely helpless and stressed over the destruction of his monastery, Elder Jinchi bent forward, took several strides, and rammed his head into the wall, ending his life. Eventually, Wukong discovered who had taken the Kasaya, but retrieving it proved to be no easy feat. So, Wukong flew to Guanyin for help. Together, they devised a plan and successfully retrieved the Kasaya, ultimately resulting in the death of Whiteclad noble and Lingxuzi, master of Guangmou and Guangzhi. Guanyin subdued the bear by placing an encaging band on his head. The black bear begged for mercy, and with her infinite compassion, Guanyin spared him, allowing him to guard the rear of Potalaka Mountain. And that is the end of this timeline. Now, let's fast forward to Black Myth Wukong, Destined One's timeline. As you begin your journey as the Destined One, you come across Black Wind Mountain. You approach a shrine and you hear a voice asking you to pluck your hair and make an offering. Then, the keeper reveals himself and mentions that he has waited a long time for your arrival. It turns out that a Daoist had visited the keeper long ago. and given him instructions on what to do when he encountered you. He was to teach you 2 spells, the Body Freeze spell and Cloud Step. The keeper wanted to know the identity of this Daoist, but was unsuccessful. With a little bit of digging, I have discovered the identity of the Daoist. He is Wukong's first master, Subodhi. The biggest hint that was given to us, the audience, was he could not reveal his identity due to a promise. For the context of this promise, when Wukong was studying under Subodhi, he had displayed his 72 transformations in front of his religious brothers. Fearing that Wukong may be harmed by those who wanted to learn his heavenly secret, Subodhi expelled him for his own safety. He also anticipated that Wukong might cause trouble and forbid Wukong to ever mention his name or their relations. So Wukong made a promise to never give away a single letter of his name. By doing so, Subodhi was able to avoid unnecessary implications from the heaven and safeguard his teachings from widespread exposure. He also taught Wukong the cloud soaring ability, which I believe is an inspiration to the cloud step ability you learn in chapter 1. Though it is not directly stated, Wukong likely learned body freezing spell while studying under Subodhi, as he had not learned anything from anyone ever since he left Subodhi. A little fun fact about the keeper if you guys would like to know. He is Tu Di Gong, and because he is the local god of the land, he remembers everything that transpired at Blackwind Mountain. In Journey to the West, Wukong always summons Tu Di Gong for more information on the village's history, or to know a demon's identity or weaknesses. In some sense, Tu Di Gong has indirectly helped Wukong and the group overcome their tribulations. Although he is the lowest ranking deity in the Daoist pantheons, he is one of the most widely worshipped earth deities among the Chinese. That is because Tu Di Gong is protector of harvest and god of wealth, Cai Shen. Villagers pray to him for bountiful harvests and safe journeys for the wandering travelers. Almost every local community had its own unique and distinct Tu Di Gong. Hence, in Black Myth Wukong, you see a different version of Keeper for different regions. Alright, back to the game. The Keeper, Tu Di Gong, of course, remembers everything and tells you what happened to Guanyin Temple. A fire had happened and the temple was burned to the grounds. Although it has been rebuilt, the temple served no purpose if goodwill is not practiced. He mentions that you may have forgotten the place, but Blackwind Mountain has not forgotten you. This refers to Wukong's deeds and how you, the destined one whose fate is twisted with Wukong's, must now deal with the aftermath of what Wukong left behind, blaze and all. As we explore, we come across wolf yaoguais patrolling the area. With our staff and skills, they prove to be no challenge. Eventually, we meet the Bullguard, the gatekeeper of the Blackwind Mountain. Strong and tenacious as a bull, we almost lost the fight to him until the keeper stepped in. That is when we were taught the body freezing spell. After defeating the Bullguard, we get to learn his backstory from the journal section. Just to make things easier and less confusing, the Black Bear Guai and Blackwind King are the same person. What reason does the Black Bear Guai have to transform himself into a human? Well, perhaps to shed his old identity as Kuan Yin's disciple and to usher in a new age of Blackwind Mountain as its king. So, for the sake of simplicity, I will just go by Black Bear Guai. The Bullguard was appointed by the Black Bear Guai to guard the entrance of the mountain. Occasionally, he would be rewarded with pills for his loyalty and hard work. The wolf guais who patrol the area were also gifted pills. One day, a curious Yao Guai questioned Bullguard about the efficacy of the pills. Bullguard exchanged the pills to prove that those given by the Black Wind King were the same. The Yao Guai felt no change, while Bullguard remained robust as ever. Is this a clear case of deception? Or is it just Bullguard's blind devotion to Black Bear Guai that had kept him blinded from the truth? Perhaps there is a reason Black Bear Guai appointed the Bullguard as the gatekeeper. I think we're starting to see Black Bear Guai for who he is. As we progress further, we're stopped by the keeper who warned us of the danger looming around. He transformed us into a golden cicada so we may better understand our surroundings. You will come to see many wolf guais patrolling the area, as well as two figures guarding something behind them. The two figures are Guangzhi and Wandering Wight. Both are optional bosses that are not necessary for game progression. But remember what the keepers say: secrets loom in the Black Wind Mountain. So, if you chose to engage, you will be rewarded. Defeating Guangzhi will allow you to transform into him, using his skills to deal extra fire damage and gain hidden dialogues with certain bosses. Not too far from your fight with Guangzhi, you will be able to ring one of the 3 bells that unlock a hidden boss, Elder Jinchi, who I will talk about later in this video. Eventually, we will find ourselves in a temple where the keeper warned us to be quiet so we would not upset Lingxuzi, one of the Black Bear Guai's allies. A howl was heard nearby and the keeper quickly withdrew into hiding, leaving us to ponder the ferocity of Lingxuzi and Black Bear Guai's supremacy to detect such a vicious creature. After you have emerged victorious, you will gain a grey wolf mask and a celestial pill that would extend your life bar. In some sense, this pill would be the equivalent of extending one's lifespan. Looking at your journal, you will find out that Lingxuzi you fought was not the same Lingxuzi you know from the Journey to the West. In fact, he was killed by Wukong and is long dead since then. So, who is this grey wolf you just fought and why do they share the same name? Let's have a look. After Black Bear Guai had obtained Wukong's powerful relic, his plan to reinstate his position of power in the mountain now seemed more possible. First, he needed allies, and what better allies than his old friend Lingxuzi, who was killed by Wukong. He resurrected old Lingxuzi using the lives of voluntary local wolf guais and the mantra of revival he had learned from Guanyin. Upon learning the nature of his revival, Lingxuzi hung himself at the location of the 3rd bell. Black Bear Guai, fearing that the local wolves would fall apart without a leader, he chose a grey wolf guai who had wandered from Shito Ridge. He gave him the name Lingxuzi and helped him take a leadership position. His pack rose in power, surpassing the local wolf guais in the distribution of spoils and favors. Bitter about favoritism, the local wolf guais quietly plotted against the newly appointed leader. However, Lingxuzi was prepared for the rebellion. And shortly after, the temple erupted into chaos. The Fireblade Wolf, Guangzhi, overheard the commotion and held off Lingxuzi, allowing the local wolf guais to escape. The Black Bear Guai was ready to unleash punishment on the local wolves for rebellion, but the Whiteclad noble prevented it. Ever since then, the local wolf guais have refused to step onto the grounds of Guanyin Temple. Frustrated at the outcome of his plan, the Black Bear Guai decided to set his sights on reviving his old monk friend, Elder Jinchi. However, the soul of Elder Jinchi did not fused to his corpse. Instead, the corpse fused with the gold, silver, and copper coins that were buried together, forming a maddened golden apparition. This entity, known as the Wandering Wight, wandered relentlessly, constantly harassing the mountain garrison. As you can see, his blood is gold, his body is silver, and his robe is copper colored. From the Journey to the West story, we know that Elder Jinchi has always lusted for Kasaya and treasures like the Colizone cups. I think the Wandering Wight is the embodiment of Elder Jinchi's human desire. It clings to treasure and allows it to be part of it. Upon defeating the Wandering Wight, you will get its transformation and the cat eye beads. Its description reads, "Cast not rare and precious things before the avaricious eyes." This is a reference to when Tang Mong advises Wukong to not show the Kasaya, for once he sees it, he will be tempted, and once he is tempted, he will plot and scheme. With the bell and the cat eye beads description, I think it's a clear setup for what's to come. A fight with a secret boss, Elder Jinchi himself. In Buddhism, the eyes are considered one of the 6 sense faculties: ears, nose, tongue, body, and mind, that interact with the external world. These faculties are responsible for creating sensory experiences, which can lead to desires and attachments. When the eye sees an object, contact occurs, leading to feelings, thoughts, and desires. The feeling that follows can be pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. If the object is pleasant, it can create a desire to experience or to possess it. This desire or craving can then turn into attachment, where one becomes fixated on the object. This attachment strengthens the cycle of suffering by creating more desires and reinforcing the false belief that external objects can bring lasting happiness. Looking back at the animation, we knew that Elder Jinchi in his early days had already succumbed to his desires. The moment he stepped into the monastery, his fate was sealed. Surrounded by monks who wore various kasaya, his eyes were tempted and a desire for the perfect kasaya was formed. Over 200 years of his life, the depth of his lust became so severe that even as a spirit, he still yearned for Tang Mong's kasaya. The intensity of his lust is also reflected in his character design. His eyes are never open, and he even says, "I cannot see you." Unfortunately for Elder Jinchi, it is his lustful eyes that led to his death and subsequently his inability to move on. Hence the quote by the keeper, "A tragedy prolonged by a single glance." If you notice the location of Elder Jinchi, it says Ancient Guanyin Temple, Grand Chamber. I believe when Elder Jinchi died, his unfulfilled desire had his soul trapped in the place of his death. Perhaps this is another reason why his soul did not return to his body. This mirrors a concept in Buddhism where one's attachment to worldly desire can affect the ability to move on to the afterlife. To access this location, you as the destined one must ring 3 bells. The bells could be interpreted in one of these things. Number 1, announcing your arrival as a guest. You ring 3 bells to arrive at Elder Jinchi's location, and the first few words you'll hear from Elder Jinchi himself are, "Disciples come, I hear travelers carrying new treasures." Number 2, cleansing and purifying the environment and mind. Your arrival with the ringing of the bell signifies a purification ritual, cleansing Elder Jinchi's soul and allowing him to move on to his afterlife. After you have defeated Elder Jinchi, you will hear him say, "Guangzhi.Guangmou, the Kasaya, I don't want it. I don't want it anymore." Since it is his desire for Tang Meng's Kasaya that tethered him to his place of death, his rejection of it severs the ties, allowing him to depart from the Grand Chamber. After you exit the Grand Chamber, you would see old Lingxuzi's corpse disappearing. According to Guangmou's journal, it was him who voiced out Elder Jinchi's inner thoughts and advocated to kill Wukong and Tang Meng to obtain the Kasaya. Guangzi, Whiteclad noble's disciple, also participated in this evil deed. Perhaps Lingxuzi was unable to move on due to his disciple's treachery, resulting in the death of Elder Jinchi and countless innocent lives in the monastery. Perhaps Elder Jinchi's defeat and subsequent departure to the afterlife gave Lingxuzi peace of mind, allowing him to also depart from this life. Or it could mirror the departure of Wandering Wight, as both were brought to life in a similar way. If you have come this far without fighting the Wandering Wight, you might find yourself in a tough situation. I've heard that if you have defeated Elder Jinchi but had left the Wandering Wight alone, you might not see the Wandering Wight after you have emerged victorious from your fight with Elder Jinchi. Whether this is a bug or a feature, I will try to explain the significance should this be a feature. The Wandering Wight is the body of Elder Jinchi, formed by fusing with the coins buried alongside it. This body reflects Elder Jinchi's human desires for monetary possessions. Once Elder Jinchi's soul let go of his desire for Tang Meng's Kasaya, the Wandering Wight released the coins that made up its body, symbolizing Elder Jinchi, both soul and body, departing this life by relinquishing his attachment to material wealth. Neither character could quench the lust when tempted. Elder Jinchi was tempted by the Tang Meng's Kasaya, and Black Bear was tempted by Wukong's powerful relic. Both pursuits ended tragically. Many lives were lost in the fire caused by Elder Jinchi's lust for the Kasaya, and Black Bear's desire for control nearly resulted in a bloodbath between the Grey Wolf Guais and the local Wolf Guais. Unable to resolve the conflict, Black Bear decided to resurrect Elder Jinchi, but ended up creating an entity that defied his attempts at control. The more Black Bear sought control, the more chaos he unleashed. In the end, their desires led only to chaos. Alright, and here we shall look into the background of Guangzi, a little wolf guai who yearned to be human. He often took human shape to play in town but was always chased away. Determined, he asked his old master, Lingxuzi, to grant his wish. At this time, his master was close to Black Bear in the mountain and asked him for a favor. So, Black Bear transformed Guangzi into a little monk and sent him to study under Elder Jinchi. The monks disliked Guangzi and constantly played tricks on him. Unaware of their intentions, Guangzi always fell for it. Elder Jinchi named him Guangzi, meaning great wisdom, hoping he would grow clever and sharp enough so his fellow monks could no longer bully him. With Elder Jinchi's care and teaching, Guangzi learned to read, write, and abide by the monastic rules, gradually assimilating into the ranks. After the events transpired, the burning of the temple, Elder Jinchi's suicide, Guangzi shed his monk robes and retreated to the mountains, repenting with Jinchi's teaching. During his years of practice in the mountains, he forged a new weapon inspired by the raging flames he saw that night. He named it the Red Tides. Guangmou. Ever since he was a young boy, he had aspired to be a legendary Yao Guai master. When Lingxuzi sent his little wolf guai Guangzi to be Elder Jinchi's disciple, Guangmou's master, old White Snake Guai, grew worried, fearing it was a plot by Ling to win favor with the Black Bear Guai. So he commanded Guangmou to join the monkhood and warned him to never fail behind Guangzi. No matter how hard Guangmou tried, Elder Jinchi never seemed to favor him as much as Guangzi. Guangmou blamed his master's meddling for his failure to earn Elder Jinchi's favor. So, when Guangmou saw how desperate Elder Jinchi was for Tang Meng's Kasaya, he voiced Elder Jinchi's inner thoughts: kill to obtain the Kasaya. So Guangzhi and Guangmou plotted, and for the first time, Elder Jinchi acknowledged Guangmou's wit to burn Tang Meng and Wukong to death. When the fire began and spread wildly, Guangmou hid in the bamboo grove behind the mountain. The fire had burned the entire temple and left the two journeying monks unharmed. Alright, let's talk about stories of other characters. Let's start with Red Loong, which is Red Dragon. After what had happened to the old Dragon King at Jing River, TLDR, he defied the heavenly decree to secure victorious bet against the fortune teller, and he was sentenced to death. So the dragon princes were uncertain about their future. So they sought Yuan Shoucheng, the fortune teller, yes, the same fortune teller that their father had lost a bet against, to have their fortunes read. He told them, "The dragon lies hidden. It is not time for action." Heartbroken, they wanted to resign from their position, hoping to avoid the fate of their king should they accidentally offend the celestial court in the future. However, their resignation was not accepted. As time passed, Yuan Shoucheng returned to the dragon princess with another fortune. "The dragon lies hidden. It stirs in the deep." So they took this as a sign that it was a favorable time to act and left their homes. The Red Dragon knew that the Black Bear was greedy for treasures and had Guan Yin's protection. So he traded all of his valuable possessions for an ideal cave in the mountains. Feeling safe and hidden, he slept there for many years. One day, he awoke with a desire to soar into the sky, but found that he could hardly climb through the clouds. He remembered an ancient saying: "When a dragon wishes to ascend to the sky, it must first climb the cloudwood." What he didn't know was that this saying meant trials and challenges must be overcome to achieve a higher state of enlightenment. Dude literally carved a set of claw wood into the mountains, thinking that it would help him fly. Guess what? It did not. Unwilling to accept his predicament, he sought help from the Black Bear, who provided him with the Boshan sensor he had brought from Guan Yin's place. The sensor could create clouds and smoke, and the Black Bear convinced Red Dragon that a dragon cannot traverse without clouds. So, the Red Dragon attached the sensor to his back and forced his will to create smoke from it. When one use was not enough, he added another. The help provided by the sensor was not proportional to the amount of will it consumed. Although Red Dragon could use it to fly, it was not comparable to his previous abilities. This illustrates that the skill once mastered can fade with neglect. Whiteclad noble was resurrected and appointed by the Black Bear Guai to guard one of the bells. When you hear him, he has this dialogue that explains he's only here as his brother's ears and eyes. His brother is Black Bear Guai. The Whiteclad noble's conversation with old Lingxuzi suggested that they both should not be here, since they were killed by Wukong and been dead long ago. This upgrade material mentioned this. This take could be excessive and I couldn't find anything else, but you guys let me know. The person who suggested Wukong and Tang Meng to be burned was Guangmou, Whiteclad noble's disciple. Since his suggestion directly threatens the safety of the duo, perhaps this can be considered a toot-for-toot situation. However, if Wukong didn't know it was Whiteclad noble's disciple who suggested the burning, would it have been personal then? Wukong's relic caught my eye here. It is a bird with double pupil. I think it's referring to the Zhongming Niao. Although it can be mixed with Feng Huang, they're not the same. The Zhongming Niao double pupil symbolize exceptional perception, much like Wukong's ability to perceive evil intentions and true forms of demons. The cat-eye beast, with their distinctive Chateau Yanxi, mimics the mesmering glow of a cat's eyes at night. Just as a cat's eyes grant the ability to see in the dark, wearing cat-eye beads are believed to grant the wearer enhanced perception and uncover hidden truths. I think there is a reoccurring motive here, and it is the eye. I'll do my best to make the connection. Chapter 1 intertwines the physical act of seeing with the deeper spiritual ability to perceive the reality beneath surface temptations. Elder Jinchi's downfall began the moment he laid eyes on the Kasaya, its unattainable beauty igniting a lust that ultimately led to his demise. His inability to see beyond his desire resulted in his tragic end. In a similar sense, Black Bear was tempted when he discovered Wukong's relic. The relic, imbued with power, clouded his judgment and spurred him to reclaim his status at Blackwind Mountain, a position that was borrowed rather than earned, illustrating his failure to see the true nature of power and authority. Had they both chosen to see past their temptations, they would understand that it only leads to temporary happiness. By overcoming the illusions that clouded their judgment, they will be able to free themselves from earthly attachments and take a step closer to enlightenment, free of desires. And that is it for Chapter 1. Hope you guys like my take on this lore, and if you have any suggestions or ideas, please leave them down in the comments below. Otherwise, look forward to Chapter 2. Thank you for listening.